Okay, so I just want to explain with a small example today. So the example out over here is what is a find element and find elements. The concept for today is the differences between find element and as well as elements, and where we will be using elements and what is the significance of that we are going to study. See, basically, I know an element means one object identify. Identify one object in a browser. That's what its name says, that identify an element. Whereas the elements identify multiple objects in the browser. That's the basic thing. One will identify one object and another will be identifying multiple objects in the browser. Okay, good. And then the next point here is, if your program was unable to identify an object, no such element exception comes as an outcome, or the error. Basically, this is what we are going to get. No such element exception. Whereas here, no exception will be returned. Okay, no exceptions will be returned here. And the next one out over there is return a value is web element. Return a value is list of web element. Okay, so for one, the return value is only the single object, whereas for the other, the return value is a collection of multiple objects. Okay, good enough. Done the deal. And then the next point which we need to consider here is, okay, so I just defined these examples. Let us see a practical differences between a find element and as well as an elements. So here, let's go back, and I'm copying the existing program and creating a new program on top of it. So here, I'm deleting all unnecessary comments. So I can compare this one simply. Identify a person with name as Surendra in a class. This is what a find element does. So it's a specific to one object, whereas a find elements identify all grade 1 kids in the school. So whenever you identify grade 1 kids, you will find a multiple people here. Whereas whenever you identify a single person, basically the ultimate outcome is a single person. So if you observe the find elements, the find element return type is only one object, whereas the find elements return type is a multiple objects. So let us see that particular one. Let me change it to a bing.com. Okay, so launch the browser and then just give the URL related to the bing.com. What's there? And that's http bing.com. Okay, so on this bing.com, first of all, what I'm trying to do right now is bing.com, on which right click on this the text field, inspect. Okay, properly right click on it, inspect, and here it has an ID property. Copy the ID property, go back here, driver dot find element by ID. Okay, so we are directly asking our WebDriver to identify an object by its ID property. And whenever I mouse over on that object, the return type is a web element. So here, web element obj is equal to as of now. So when I run my test script, if the desired object is there in a browser, no exceptions will be thrown by my program. I don't get any exceptions here. Okay, I don't get any exceptions here. Whereas if the desired object is not there, then it will throw some exceptions. Okay, good. In the current situation, the desired object is there, hence no exceptions got displayed. For suppose here I changed an ID to Surendra. I know there are no objects in the browser with this particular property. In such situations, definitely, okay, in such situations, definitely we will get some exceptions. Let me try to run my test script and see how this is going to work. Run as a Java application. It's getting executed again. Let us see this. Now, see here in your program, no such element exception got a display. Fine, perfect. Now, what I'm going to do right now is comment this obj and now driver dot find elements by dot. What I want to do means maybe I want to give by ID as Surendra. This time also, I know there are no objects in a browser with this particular ID property. So if I mouse over on this one, the return type we are getting is list of web elements, which is a collection of multiple objects here. So list of web elements obj is equal to. I don't have any objects with this particular locator. Now, when I run my test script, I'm not going to get any kind of an exceptions with this. Okay, it's not going to throw any kind of an exceptions here. Okay, see, the reason is even though the desired objects are not there, the find elements will not throw any exceptions. But the thing is, I know on a list I can use a size method system.out.println obj.size. If the desired objects are not there, the size will be 0. Instead of throwing any exceptions, it will maintain the size as 0 itself. That's the only thing. Okay, so when it got executed, see the size is returning as 0. Okay, perfect. For suppose I have given this ID as a Surendra, right? For suppose if I give a valid ID property sv underscore form underscore q, and now when I run my test script as a Java application, it's getting executed. Say basically the size is 1. Earlier, whenever the object is not there, we got a size as a 0, but now we are getting size as 1. Perfect. Done, guys. Is this point clear for you guys or any questions for me on this? Good. And done up to here. Any questions for me, guys? Do let me know if you have any questions.
So can you explain again, sir? Like in which condition we will use like web element?
So, web element, we are not going to use it basically. So, it means whenever we use a find element command, automatically the return type is a web element. So, web element will comes from a find element itself. Whereas, see the simple requirement, if I want to perform operations on only one object, then I can use find elements, which will give web element as an outcome. For suppose, if there is a scenario for you where in which you want to compare all the objects present in the browser. For suppose there is a scenario for you wherein which you want to compare all the objects present in a browser. In such situations, we can use find elements a command which will be list of web elements. So the ultimate point out over here is depending on your scenario requirement, you will be using either a find element or a find elements command. Either of these are commands we are going to use.
Okay, sir.
Okay, cool. And then the next point that we need to consider is okay. And then once we are done up to here, then the next in a basic scenario is okay. Finally, we understood that this one find elements and as well as a find elements are two different things. The outcome of the find elements is multiple objects. Multiple objects. If we want to identify multiple objects, then we will use this. Okay, then we will use this. Perfect. Done the deal. And then the next point here that we need to consider is a scenario for now. Identify all the text fields in the SF login screen and print the count. That's it. So guys, here in this situation, I just want to print the count of all the text fields present in a SF login screen. So immediately, a quick question will rise in our mind. How can I identify all text fields in one shot? How exactly it's going to happen? See, an example is earlier when I was comparing about the find element and as well as the find elements. See here, identify all grade 1 kits. So here the instruction that I have passed is a grade 1 and all. All grade 1 kits is the instruction that I have passed so that we can identify all the grade 1 kits in the school. The similar way, we need to pass on a common property for all the text fields to find elements command. That's it. You need to identify a common property for all the text fields and you just need to pass on that particular command to your find elements. Perfect. So let's navigate to login.salesforce.com. Right click on the text field, inspect, and here I noticed that let us study the property for this one. So the tag name is a input. It is having some class. Type as a email. Name, ID, array label, these many properties are there. If you observe the password field again inspects, again it is having a tag name as an ID. Sorry, input. So I noticed that both my fields are having an input tag name here, right? Both my text fields are having an input tag name. So let me try to identify this button as well. Right click on a login button, inspect it. Even my button is also having a tag name as an input. So here I thought that my text fields are having okay, I thought that my text fields are having a tag name as an input, but here I noticed that almost all the required objects, buttons and as well as the text fields are having with this tag name. The common tag name for all those things is an input. So let me make a note. We observed that all the text fields, comma, buttons are having a tag name as an input. Perfect. Then we can ask our find elements command to identify all the objects in the browser by its tag name. Let us see this particular one now, how we can do that. So let's copy this program. Where is this login program? Let me look at my login program once. Okay. Yeah, this is what the login program. Paste it here. And in this program, I'm deleting all unnecessary commands. Perfect. And now driver dot find elements by dot. I noticed a tag name. Let us see whether we have a locator for that. Class name, CSS selector, ID, linker text, name, partial link text, tag name. Yes, perfect. We have it, and the tag name is an input. And here, if I mouse over on a find elements, we are getting list of web elements. List of web elements, options equal to. And now, whenever I mouse over on a list, it's asking me to import the list. All the collection APIs are from a Java utils. Just import the Java utils list. And then system.out.println options.size. That's it. I'm just using dot size method. When I run my test script as a Java application now, it will be executing and it will be printing down the total text field size. Okay. Sure. See, there are 26 objects are there in this particular page. Okay, 26 objects are there in this particular place. Okay, good. Done the deal. Perfect. So it means we observed only three in the browser, but okay, but there are more than three objects overall. There are 26 objects are there in the browser. Perfect. Now that's fine. So now my original scenario that I want to do is identify all the links in the browser on a bing.com home screen. This is what the scenario for your practice. Let's go back to the bing.com. I will explain the scenario for you. So my requirement is I just want to identify all the links. Okay. So right click on any one of the link, inspect. It has a tag name as a, and right click on another link and even it has a tag name as a. Some other link, even it has the tag name as a. So it means all the links in the web page are having a tag name as a. So in this program, the only thing that you need to do is replace this input to tag name with a. That's it. That's the only point that you should do from your end in order to complete this scenario. Okay, so go ahead and complete this scenario from your end. So today we discussed about a find elements and we have seen some examples on find elements command. We'll continue the topic in the next session with further examples. Okay, cool. Thank you.